this week. I'd like to thank everybody for coming today and hopefully get more people once the driver gets going. There's an announcement. Let's go. So next week, March 22nd and 23rd, there'll be Aboriginal Diabetes Initiative and Strengthening Families with, and they're in conjunction with Strengthening Families, which is the Maternal Child Health Program. They're going to be hosting the 5th Annual Diabetes Conference next week. So if you're available next week, come back March 22nd and 23rd, and it's going to be happening here at the auditorium from 8:30 to 4:30 each day. So in the evening, they'll also have an activity on 22nd. There's going to be a round dance at here in the auditorium from 6 to 9 p.m. So same thing, refreshments and lunch will be provided, rides will be provided, door prizes to be won. So if you're available next week, come back for it's only 2 days next week. So with that, I want to welcome everybody again. Good morning. And our presenter today is Raymond McLean, and he'll be doing the presentation on You Were Born a Champion. So with that, let's welcome Raymond McLean.
Thank you, Lucy. Good morning, everyone. I'm looking forward to sharing this presentation with you this morning. But before I do that, I'm going to call Norman to come and just speak to you briefly what he has in his heart to share with you, because this is our last day. We'll be leaving today after the presentations in the afternoon. And thank you for having us, and we enjoyed ourselves. The week went so fast, and meeting new people and also people that we have met before, and we all had the honor of just enjoying ourselves. Thank you. And here's Norman.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here. I had a good week, and you're so organized. This place is well organized, and I really enjoyed being here. When I was growing up, I had a very loving mother, a really loving mother, and father too. My dad, my mom. But anyway, I used to do lots of things when I was a child, or even as a teenager. I did lots and lots of things, and sometimes my mom would throw me out because too many jokes. So I said things, or sometimes the phone would ring and I would answer the phone pretending to be somebody else, and so sometimes my mom used to kick me out, but she wasn't mad. She would be laughing, and but like I said, she would kick me out. So too many jokes, sometimes Indian jokes, and not to hurt my people, but just funny things, right? Our people are funny. So one of the things that I told my mom one time, she was laughing, was this white woman. There was a white woman, she needed a brain transplant, right? So the doctor says, well, we have a black woman's brain, we have a Chinese woman's brain, we have a European brain, and we have an Indian woman's brain. Which one you want? Of course, white woman, she says, well, I'm white, so I want a European brain. All right. So she had her operation. After the operation, the doctor goes back and tells that white lady, you know what? we made a mistake. White woman is looking at, we happen to give you our Indian woman's brain. And then the first thing she says, ever sick. Well, I hope you have a nice day. Thank you.
All right. I just want to, just say a word of, thank you. Thank you for having us again, and it's been a pleasure for us to be here, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the near future, and it's been fun. I enjoyed it very much, and meeting new people that I've met before, and I shared a story the other day regarding, and it was requested by Florence. Florence asked last night on air that I should share the eagle story, the story of the eagle. And she said, I think it's worth mentioning it again because it has a lot of morale to it, a virtue that you can get from the story of the eagle. Well, the eagle is, they get to live to be about 40 years old. And then they go through a phase that causes them to want to change. It's a kind of like a death and life situation. And it goes through, because it loses its ability to do other things, and then it begins to, slacken in its ability to even catch prey. The talons would not be as useful like they were when he was younger. His beak would give him problems. His feathers would be brittle. All kinds of little problems that we think are unnecessary but very important to an eagle. And so when it reaches that stage in around 40 years old, it makes the decision that it either dies or do this. And he goes into a mountain, a high place, and perches there for a time. And it begins to pluck its own feathers. His beak begins to grow, and it clamps shut. He can't open his mouth. And literally he's starving. The feathers are gone. He's starving. He can't eat. He doesn't have the ability to fly. So he goes into this transition for I don't know how many weeks. Meanwhile, back at the camp, wherever the eagles gather together, the young eagles miss Papa Eagle. And eagles communicate in certain ways that we can't even understand. But these eagles would ask, sort of ask Mama Eagle, where's Papa Eagle? And she would communicate to them that Papa Eagle's gone somewhere. So they're not satisfied with that. So what did? They go looking for him. They fly around looking for Papa Eagle. And they do find him. They find him perched on a high mountain or somewhere, on a high place. And they see him being in this state of despair and hopelessness, dying. And so what did? They go fishing. They go catch fresh prey. And they bring the fish and they slap the fish on Papa's eagle's head. And the fish is all around this eagle, and he can't resist the smell, the fresh food. And so what does he do? He starts banging his beak on the rock until his beak loosens, and he's able to eat and he gouges, not just eat, but gouges the food, and he just takes in more than enough. And he begins to regain his strength, and also not only that, but he begins growing his feathers. The feathers are renewed feathers. They're different from the feathers that he had when he was born as an eagle at his young age. Because during the young age, his upbringing, there might have been incidents, circumstances that might have caused the eagle's feathers to scar or to mar, whatever. And so for the rest of its life, till he reaches the age of 40, the eagle's feathers are not perfect. There might be some scars and mars on the feathers of the eagle. And so, but during the transition, during the renewal, when he grows back the second pair of feathers, these second pair of feathers are not scarred. They grow into perfection. There's not a flaw in them. And when they're finally grown, he's able to, his strength has renewed and he's able to flap his wings, and he takes flight for the second time in its phase. And he is able to go higher than the young eagles. He's able to fly higher than the young ones. Why? Because his scarred feathers are no longer there. He has renewed feathers. There's a wise saying that the eagles will renew their strength. That's what that means. They're renewed. And when they are renewed, it takes them higher than the normal. So even when these young ones were chasing after Papa Eagle, he was able to outdo them. The young eagles will go this high, and Papa Eagle will go beyond that. And he's able to soar higher than it was before. But in order for him to do that, he had to go through a process of change. Sometimes change could be painful. It could be hard. But if you can do it, it'll elevate you to another level. So my presentation this morning is that you were born a champion. My wife and I watched a documentary one time on TV. Just a random show. We weren't planning to watch anything like that. And this documentary came out, and it speaks about conception between the time of a birth of a baby and its conception. And the seed of a man was portrayed as men and women, individuals, all racing towards a common goal. And whoever reaches the goal becomes the winner. And this is what this presentation is about. So I will take you there now. And the title, You Were Born a Champion. This presentation is intended to help those with identity issues. Why am I here? Why was I born? What am I doing here? And what is my purpose? These are questions that young people ask. When I was a young teenager, I did ask these questions. Why was I born? Why am I here? And I hope to answer these in this presentation. Also, I used my own life experiences that are very personal and intimate that I don't really share publicly, but whenever I do a presentation, I included them there just to give you the scope of what this life is about and what you can accomplish. It is intended to help those struggling with low self-esteem. Maybe perhaps people that are going through this. This presentation will be on YouTube, so you can rewatch it. You can go back on it and share it with your friends. It is intended to help and aid mental health programs, especially suicide preventions, building up self-esteem in the people's lives. What I did was all photos used in this presentation were produced by a presenter except the sperm cells racing towards the egg. Well, I had to change that too. And I try to use my own materials as much as possible for this specific presentation. Some PowerPoint stock images and icons provided for users were used. So let's look at it, enjoy. Life begins at conception. We have a picture of a target with an arrow. There was a dramatized documentary, as I said before, on how life begins at conception. The seed of a man were portrayed as people, like men and women, all racing towards the target, the common target, and that is the egg and the ovary of a woman. Sperm cells racing towards the egg. There's a picture there, and there's millions of them actually racing towards their target. The race and battle of life did not begin after you were born, but before conception. Let me say that again. The race and battle of life did not begin after birth, but before conception. I took a picture in one of the schools that we were in, and the organizers had the kids to race across the hall, across the gym, and they were all racing. And that's how life is portrayed. It's like a race. We're all racing towards something, whether it's going to school, careers, we're all pursuing something in life. But it did not only begin after conception, it began, as I said, before birth. There was a race which I want to be portraying here in a moment. Every seed, one of them is you, in their tiniest form, climbed mountains, mountain-like heights, crawled in different terrains, swam in pools of lake size of liquids and streams in comparison with our mother's body. There's a mountain and there's you climbing up inside. This is all taking place inside the womb or inside the body of a woman. These seeds are racing inside, climbing mountains, everything that looks like, because they're very tiny, they're microscopic, they're small and in size, so everything inside the body is like a mountain. So I thought, I can portray this little thing climbing a mountain. And then terrains, hard terrains, and then there's this thing, a baby crawling in this hard terrain. And then ocean-like liquids, lakes, rivers, in comparison to to the seed that's there. Just remember that's not only just one seed, but there's actually millions. I'll give you the figure later on in what really happens. They confronted our mother's body's defense or immune system. That's the mother's immune system. It's like an army based there, attacking any foreign invaders. And that includes viruses, anything that we have outside our bodies that try to penetrate into our lives inside. There's a defense system. So likewise, it doesn't matter if it's a seed of a man. The seed of a man is considered an invader, a foreign specimen, and therefore, naturally, the mother's defense system will kick in to fight off these foreign invaders that are coming into the body. You notice that I used a man, woman, as an illustration there because the gender is determined in that seed. The DNA is in the seed of that person. So whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, Only time will tell what the gender will be. The body's defense system, like an army ready for battle. The seeds of a man. And like in the battlefield, millions die. Millions die. I always try and use some kind of an illustrated way of depicting a picture so that you can see that there's numbers involved in what we're talking about, or what I'm talking about. So here we have these circles. Let's say millions of circles. Each circle would represent a seed, a sperm. And in the body, the immune system kills off these seeds that are trying to invade inside the mother's body. Several millions will pass through the mother's body defense system to continue the race of the conception of life. And sometimes only 1, 2, and sometimes more will reach the egg. As you notice, I drew a happy face in one of the circles. That would represent the seed that mated past the mother's defense system, immune defense system. Sometimes you would have 2. And if you have 2, that would be twins. And if you have 3, triplets, right? 4 quadruplets, 5 quintuplets, 6 sextuplets. I don't know the highest amount of children that were born in through one birth of a woman, but I know 6. 6 have been. I think that's the highest that I know of. I don't know. Maybe you know more, but the thing is that these seeds reach the ovary, the egg. Here's a sperm reaching the egg. But look and listen, the first to reach the egg is a winner, a champion. And that seed went through all this these different phases, different levels of things that it had to overcome inside the mother's body. But only 1 or 2 will emerge as winners. And that's you. Before you were conceived in your mother's womb, you were engaged in battles and struggles, and yet you were born a champion, you were born a winner. That little guy there is my grandbaby. I was shuffling the pictures the other day, and I had used one of my nephew's babies, but I thought, I better use our own little one. So isn't he look beautiful, that little guy, our first grandchild, and his name is Robert Liam. I'm proud of him. He's 9 months old now. He was born June 1st, and he's a really precious little guy. I really miss him. I haven't seen him for about 5 or 6 days, and Grandpa's getting all worried about wanting to go back home and go see the little one. So, it's special. But my point is that you were born a champion. You had battles inside your mother's womb. You struggled, and yet you beat everyone. Look at your neighbor and say, you were born a champion. You were born a champion. You are not a loser. You were born a champion. You were selected. You were destined to be the winner. Out of all the millions of other seeds that you competed with, you came in on top. You came in as number 1. Do you want to know how many others were racing or competing with you? I had mentioned that the other day, but some of you might not remember. Or maybe you have not heard me talk about it, but I will say it again. How many others were racing or competing with you? I asked this question before with high school students, and even with some adults that we had presented this presentation, some of them had such weird numbers. Some said 100, some said 1,000, some said 10,000. And one person spoke up and said, 1 million. You know, wow, you're getting there, I said. 1 million is pretty close, but not quite yet. So I told them this is the number of others that were racing with you, 300 million. 300 million other persons, potential persons, were racing with you to reach the ovary, to reach the egg. Sometimes we can't even fathom in our minds of the number, of the size of the number 300 million. It's 3 followed by 8 zeros. 3 followed by 8 zeros. And still we can't even grasp this, the size of this number. But I want to give you an illustration. To give you the scope of this number, imagine you're raced against the entire population of the United States of America, and you won. Let's say the biggest open plains where you can fit 300 million people. Let's say you went to Nebraska or somewhere, and you say, okay, we're going to race, and we're going to have this open stretch of field, and we're going to race. You called up everybody, you challenged everyone, and there was a big marathon, and the race was on, and I don't know, maybe 26 miles of running. I don't know how many miles or kilometers they run now, but nevertheless, the race began, and you came in on top. You came on number 1. You beat everyone. 300 million people raced against you, and you beat everyone. Give yourself a hand for that. Wow. You are a champion. You were born a champion. 300 million people. Value your life. It's precious. You already came this far. You can do anything. You can do anything you put your mind to. Don't give up. You were destined to be a winner. You were conceived a champion, and then born a champion. These pictures are the pictures of, again, my grandchild. Even the picture of the unborn. He had already fought the battle, and when he was born a winner. Not only born a champion, but you were also born unique. Your DNA contains the blueprint of your entire life. Nobody has the same DNA on Earth. There's about 8 billion people on this planet, and everyone is different. The molecular structure of your body is different from everyone else. No one is completely the same. We might have genes that are related. My genes would be passed on to my children. Their genes are passed on to the grandchildren and so forth. But everyone has their own DNA. Just like your fingerprints. Your fingerprints are not the same with anybody. They can put your fingerprint data in a computer, your mark, your print, and they wouldn't be able to find anyone with the same fingerprint on this planet out of the 8 billion people that are here, including those that were here before. So everyone is unique, everyone is different, It determines, your DNA determines your ancestry, what race you were going to be from. I like being First Nations. I like being who I am. I'm not ashamed to be who I am. Let me tell you a story when we went to Europe. Several different places that we've been, even in the Middle East. One of the taxis I think it was in France, asked us where we were from, and we told them we were from Canada. Oh, you're Canadians? But no, really, where are you from? Canadian. And we said, Canadian, we're from Canada. No. He insisted. He wanted to know who we were. And my friend, and I said to him, well, we're First Nations, First Nations from Canada. And of course, they didn't understand the term First Nations. So my friend, being more articulate, he said, cowboys and Indians. Okay, I understand now. I know what you mean. Hollywood has presented it that way, right? So, Indians, we were Indians. Oh, he got so excited. And you know what he did? He shut off the meter, the taxi meter. And he said, I'm going to tell my wife I had Indians in my car. And he actually reached over and, can I touch you? He's touching my arm. I'm touching an Indian. Very intrigued at who we were. And he started naming the different tribes. I guess his wife studies the Native Americans and Native First Nations in Canada. But he didn't know that much. But anyway, he did know some tribes. He started naming the tribes in the States, and the Chippewan, and the Algonquin, the Apache, and he just named, do you know these tribes? And he named so many of them, and to a point where I got embarrassed because I didn't know my tribes. I didn't know my tribe. He knew more than I knew myself. So when I came home, I told my wife, you know what, I think I'm going to start really researching who we are. And I encourage you, do the same thing. Know your tribes. Know the tribes in Canada at least. From the west coast to the east coast, and follow. Okay, so when you go somewhere, and at least you'll know. You won't just know the Ojibwe. You won't just not just the Cree. I thought there was only Ojibwe before, but later on I found out there was Cree to the north. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but it's good to know each other, our ancestry. And another time we were in the Middle East, and we were again in a cab, and the cab driver picked us up in Tel Aviv, and again the same question was brought up. And the same reply. My friend Jimmy was the one that was with us. He was always telling him, oh, you know what, we're Indians. Same thing, same story. And we had to tell them like who we were. And they did the same thing. They shut off the meter. He says, I'll take you anywhere you want. I'm so happy I have Indians in my vehicle. So, if you ever go to Europe or the Middle East, you become a celebrity. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. You become a celebrity. They are intrigued. We had these German little boys that followed us around, and we stayed in this hotel, and they, I guess the parents told them these are Indians from Canada. Oh, these kids, they were about 6 or 7 years old, and every time we came into the lobby, these little boys would be running around, look, the Indians are back. They were so intrigued, fascinated to see an Indian. Maybe you feel, well, I don't want to be an Indian, I want to be this and that. No, be proud of it. Be proud of your ancestry. I think, I'll tell you something, in my research with our ancestry, if we were left alone, if there wasn't any colonization, if there wasn't any immigration, if we were left alone as a nation, You know how many would have been here with all the tribes all across North America? 300 million. There would have been 300 million of us. But a lot of atrocities happened, therefore the numbers dwindled. But now, there was well, I'll use the word prophecy that was given by Billy Graham some years back. He said that there was going to be a sleeping giant that was going to rise up again. And that was the First Nations, the Native American. And now, because of everything that's going on across Canada and even in the US, a lot of people are taking note of the ancestry of the First Nations, and they want to become part of it. Some are claiming, I'm half, I'm a quarter, I'm 1/8, I'm 1/16. You know, a little bit of blood, of Indian blood in them. Oh, I'm so happy that I'm Indian. I have a little bit of Indian blood in me. And you know, when you take the scope of the number of people that are wanting to become Indian, or that are claiming that they're Native or First Nation or Aboriginal, you know the number is? What the number is? 100 million. There's 100 million in Canada and the United States that claim to have Native blood. Come on. That's the giant that's rising up. That's the giant that's awakening. Be proud of who you are. Not arrogantly, but, you know, we were a broken people. We were a broken people with a broken spirit, a broken mind, a broken body. But we're being rejuvenated. We're being replenished. We're being knitted together as one. Our own people are rising up. Our own people are rising up within our own selves. I'll share that with you in a bit. The color of your skin, be proud of it, whatever color you have. If you're darker than everybody else, be proud of it. You won't have to deal with sunburn. You just go brown, right? You're browner. If you have light skin, then you know the sun kind of hurts you easily. Brown skin, no problem. I can be out there all day long and my skin will just go brown and it doesn't hurt me. I'm proud of that. Your hair, your height. Speaking of height, I like the size that I am. I'm 5'11" and a half, almost 6 feet, but if I wear shoes, I'm 6 feet, a little over 6 feet. I'm happy with that, who I am and how the Creator created me and how I was born in my mother's womb. You know, when I think about these big giants, 7 feet tall, they must have problems in the bus or in the car and in the plane, and their legs are too long. You know. Be happy with the size that you are, and you know, just appreciate yourself. That's what I'm saying. Your size and everything about you, and nobody else is like you. You're not a clone. You know what a clone is? A clone is someone that is a duplicate. You are who you are. No human on earth out of 8 billion people have the same DNA molecular structure. You are unique. As I said, you are not a duplicate or a clone. You are the only one like you. You are original. Not just Aboriginal, but original. You're awesome. Look at your neighbor and say, you're awesome. You're original. You're one of a kind. You're unique. There's nobody like you. I don't mean nobody likes you, but nobody like you. Wow. All right. Value your life. There's only one for everyone and not 9. You see the cat there? Somebody told us before what we had 9 lives. That's just a cliche. Don't believe it. We don't have 9 lives. We have 1 life, and it's precious. Keep it, honor it, cherish it. Life is a wonder. It's a gift that allows you to live in the world, to breathe and enjoy everyone and everything around you. The world is a gift for us to take it and live life to the fullest. You see the picture there on top, the top right? That's me there, holding the world. I like globes. Ever since I was a kid, I was fascinated with globes. When I was in school, you'd find me playing with a globe. You know, you kind of know your destiny, even as a child. Observe your children to see what likes they have, what giftings they have. And maybe your kid likes globes and something like that, and they're intrigued about it. That should tell you, okay, this person's going to be a traveler. He's going to like traveling. He's going to like exploring the world. I already liked that when I was growing up. And you know what? My wife was telling me the same thing. It's amazing how, we could be put together in this life and basically have almost the same traits and characters. My wife, when she was in school, she liked handling globes. She loved the globes. And that particular picture there that's in New York City. I was invited to the United Nations in 2016, and I had the privilege of standing for a nation that's very tiny in the Middle East, Israel, and got to sit in the United Nations as a First Nations representative. So that was an honor in itself, and there's many other stories I could share with you of the things that have happened, because we take life and enjoy life to the fullest. We were at the museum some time ago, actually a week ago, and we walked by this globe, and I was holding the baby, my grandkid. When he saw the globe, immediately his hand reached out like that. And I thought, okay, I'm observing this little guy. Oh, he wants to take the world. He wants to be a world changer. Already I can see his destiny, his future. And I saw him reaching out for that. Actually, his mother is from Czech Republic in Europe, just a country close by to Germany and Slovakia. And the little guy, he's going to be going to Europe next month in April. I'm already missing him. He'll be gone for a month. He went and got his passport, looked at his passport. My goodness, he looks serious. He's already wanting to take on the world. And, but that should be our goal with our kids. And, encourage them, tell them there's a big world out there. And that's a picture of me, and I'm walking on the water. And this is not a photography trick or anything. That's an actual picture. I posted that on Facebook one day, and me walking on the water. Oh man, I had the people inboxing me, "Did you really walk on the water?" And they were all amazed that I had the ability to walk on the water. I guess they must have been relating to the man of Galilee that walked on the water. I said, you know what? That's not a trick. It's an actual picture. But really, you're saying it's a sandbar. There's a sandbar there. It's about the water is only about an inch above the sandbar, and we were taking pictures, and hey, I actually look like I'm walking on water. I thought this would be good for an illustration. You guys are going to look at me different now. I'm a guy that walks on the water. We had dreams as children that one day we would walk above every problem, every obstacle that life had to throw at us. We all have shortcomings, and we all have different phases in life. I had experienced some shortcomings in life, some hard trials in life. Besides losing my parents, as I mentioned last night, the obstacle of losing a loved one. And there are times that I lost different things that were dear to me, and some atrocities that happened in my own personal life. These were obstacles that were very painful that I had to overcome. But you know what? I didn't give up. I wanted to give up. I just wanted to throw my hands up and quit. But quit to what? If I quit, what do I quit to? So, I had to refocus myself. And I'm glad that refocusing myself was a blessing. I'm going to stop right there. And we got 4 minutes before 11 o'clock. And then we'll start exactly 15 minutes after. Because I want to conclude this phase of the presentation before I move on to the next phase. So let's have a 15-minute break, and we'll start about 12 after 11. Is that okay? All right, so take a break, because I want to continue from here on. Refresh yourself, have coffee, take your time.
Was I not 1:12? I mean 11:12? Okay, we're 1 minute late. So we'll continue with our presentation by Raymond. So if you can get back to your seats, and here's Raymond. We'll do the draws this afternoon and the presenting of the certificates, right, Norman? This afternoon? So we'll do that this afternoon. Thank you.
All right, welcome back. How is it back there? Can you hear properly with the fans running and all that, or what? How's the sound check at the back? Is it okay? Okay, all right. Okay, so we had stopped here on this particular picture where I'm seen walking on the water, and the script says we had dreams as children that one day to walk above every problem, every obstacle that life throws at us. So we're going to be moving on to this is more like my own life experience that I want to share with you, and then I'll throw in some other things as well. As you see the picture on the far left, can anybody tell me who that guy looks like? Hey? And that's me. That's when I was a little guy, about 6 years old. I still have the same hairstyle. And the person beside me, can you guess who that is? Yes, that's Jean, my wife Jean. And by the way, Jean was born in Poplar River. She's one of your people. So you better be good to me because I married one of your people. She feels at home. We just found out that, well, she knew, but I didn't. I said to her, Gina, you must have cousins here. And she says, yes, I do, but I don't know them. And then Monica said, I think I'm related to your father. So I guess Jimmy's my cousin. Well, we know. We do have a relationship somewhere. Relations. So Jean is one of she was born here. Her father was Alex Hudson. Doris and Alex Hudson. Alex Hudson grew up in this reservation in his early years until he moved to Poplar River. And that's where he raised his other family. He raised some of the older kids that they have here. That would be Eddie, Nora, maybe some of you would know, Henry. And then they moved back to Poplar River after a while. And then my wife, Jean, was born later on. And she grew up in the reservation in Poplar River. So I grew up in the res in Fairford, known as Pinemutang. And just along the highway, you know where that is. That's where I'm originally from, but I left Fairford about 25 years ago. And in this particular presentation, when I was a child, we lived in the reserve, away from the main highway. Our house, Mom and Dad later moved to number 6 highway, closer to the bridge. That's where I grew up in my young life from the time of the picture. But prior to that, we lived inside the reserve, maybe about 3 kilometers from number 6 east. If you're going south and you turn on the highway, we lived about 3 kilometers in the reserve. And when we were growing up, I remember being in that location for the first 6 years of my life. And they had a Grey Goose bus that used to travel from Thompson to Winnipeg. And as a child, I would be standing outside my mom and dad's house in the evening, and I would hear the store that the bus came and picked up passengers. And as the bus echoed down the highway, I can hear the sound of the bus, the Grey Goose bus, going to Winnipeg. But I didn't know at that time it was the city of Winnipeg. I was too young as a child. But in my mind, looking and hearing the sound of a bus, I knew there was a big world out there, a world that was beckoning me, come and see me, a big world. I remember that many times standing there hearing the bus. But not only that, not only hearing the bus, I also heard the train. There's a railroad track that was right across the reserve, and it went to Gibsonville to go pick up the gypsum. That's where it made its turn, and it headed back to wherever it came from. But I would often hear this train going by, and again as a child I would hear the sound of it, and it disappeared in the distance. Again as a child I'd be, thinking about the beyond, what's out there. There's something out there beyond. And it was calling me. Little did I know that was a destiny that was imprinted in my heart and mind. So I wrote this. I heard the Grey Goose bus, the Grey Goose bus heard the train, and she saw a plane. Jean was telling me when I was sharing this story with her of my childhood, what I used to hear. She looked at me and said, "You know what, Raymond? I used to lay on the grass at my mom and dad's house, outside my mom and dad's house in Poplar River, laying on the grass and just looking at the sky, and I would see this plane flying by. I would envision myself riding that plane, going to places as a flight attendant, a stewardess they called them at that time. I wanted to, and I desired that I wanted to become a flight attendant, a stewardess. And then she often talked about that in her latter years, like maybe about in her teenage years. She wanted to pursue this as a career. But something happened that kind of distraught her and disoriented her. So it never happened. She never went to that path to pursue the career of a flight attendant. Until one day she said, while we were riding on a jet, flying somewhere, and she was looking at these flight attendants, and this thought came back to her. Remember when you were a child, laying on the grass, looking at the plane, thinking about the world beyond? Now you're here. Even though you're not a flight attendant, you're here being served by the flight attendants, and you're traveling all over this place, all over the world. So we heard the Grey Goose bus, we heard the train, she saw a plane. There's a way that, we have a calling by our destiny. Everyone is you have a purpose. The presentation here this morning, is regarding your self-esteem, knowing who you are, your identity. Even right from childhood, you'll begin to pick up clues and cues of what you might become. Very important. I'll say that again. There's things that are happening even with your children that you can pick up as clues and cues that what they might become. It starts to show. Jean and I wanted to see the world. And like I said, I wanted to share this from my own experience, our own experience. I didn't want to use anyone else, but I might throw in one picture there of some people that also had that vision of doing something with their lives. We wanted to see the world. And like I said, I was always fascinated with globes. Jean was fascinated with globes as well. And that, I guess that was our desire, is to go somewhere. And we did. Here's a picture of some pictures I collected during COVID when we were isolated. Since we couldn't travel anywhere for 2 years, we couldn't go anywhere. So what I did was I went over my pictures. I have about over 30,000 pictures. And I went over them, and this little gadget that I have in my hand alone has 15,000 pictures. And I have other phones that I use as storage. Another one would have maybe 6,000, maybe another one would have 10,000. So, we have a lot of pictures. And I was able to put these together during COVID, during a pandemic, and then I posted them on Facebook. I went to different places every day, and people would be following my posts. Okay, you've been here and you went there, that kind of thing. I enjoyed doing that, showing people, giving them a little tour. In one of those trips, Florence and Larry came with us a couple times, once to Israel and once to France. We went to Normandy. We visited the cemeteries there. We participated in the ceremonies of laying the wreath for the war veterans that fought for us so that we may have our freedom. And we had the privilege of going there with them. And then I got Larry in this train, a train that goes about 300 kilometers per hour. And that was wild. This is going from from Paris to Amsterdam, a 4-hour trip. We made a stopover briefly in Brussels. Me and Larry got off the train, and the girls were sitting there. And you know what? We almost got left behind. We were busy doing things, and we didn't know the train was ready to go. And within about 5 seconds, we managed to shove our way into through the door, and the train took off. And the speed of the train is 300 kilometers per hour. We had the joy of looking at, the speed of this machine. And when we met a train that was going the other way, and it was going at the same speed, 300 kilometers per hour. So, when these two trains meet, the velocity, the speed of both of them combined is 600 kilometers per hour. And you can hear just like that, 10 cars just meeting like and that was so awesome. Things like that exist out there in the world. And we had the privilege of seeing many of those things. There's a picture there on the left. We went to Egypt. We took people there 2 times. And many places, London, Pacific Islands, Fiji Islands. Let me tell you a story with my son, because we traveled with our son. We wanted to raise up our son to know and expose him to the world. And he was in grade 11, and he went to a school, Maples Collegiate, in that area in the Maples. He was in grade 11, and his classmates, his peers were being interviewed, I guess, so to speak, with the teacher. A lot of them were Asian, and the teacher would ask them, "So where did you go, so and so?" "Well, I went and visited my family in the Philippines, and this is where we were, and we went to Asia," and all that kind of thing. And then when it finally came down to Robert being a youngster, teenager, "So Robert, where did you go?" Thinking that this little res kid wouldn't go anywhere. And the way he answered them was so wise. He says to the teacher, well, we went to Europe, and then we went to the Middle East, and then we went to Africa, and then we just come back from the South Pacific. Wow! All in one summer? Yep, all in one summer. So, expose your kids to stuff like that. And what you do, take them along and let them see the world. And it changes their mind. We did. We fulfilled our dreams. We were privileged to walk in 26 nations and 62 major cities in the world. Dwell in possibilities, it says up on the top there. Somebody gave us this picture, actually. We didn't make it. And as a gift, they knew that we traveled, we loved traveling. We wanted to see the world, so they made this for us. So I thought this was very intriguing to show it with you, to share it with you. All the different places that we had the privilege of walking. Why am I sharing this? Because when you put your mind into doing something, nothing becomes impossible. Nothing becomes impossible because you have to step up and say, okay, I'm going to do it. As long as you don't do it, as long as you just talk about it, nothing will ever happen. You want to go on a trip? You want to go somewhere? Make it happen. It's possible. You'd be amazed how things will begin to fall into place. But you have to make that step to making it happen. Another thing that happened that we didn't realize, but it was a dream actually. We circled the earth twice between 2009 and 2011. I'm not saying this to boast or anything. I'm just sharing you what can happen if you want to do something. This message is about self-esteem. This message is about being born a champion. You are not a loser. You can do anything. And this is what happened in that time. I went, one trip that we did was from Winnipeg to Vancouver, to across the Pacific Ocean to Seoul, Korea. We walked in Seoul for 2 weeks in South Korea. And then 2 years later, we went back, and my air travel agent came. I went to see him, and I said, we're going back to Korea. And he says to me, hey, Raymond, why don't you go the other way? The other way? Yeah. I'll give it for you for the same price if you go the other way. 2 years ago, you went that way. Why don't you go this way? Okay. My wife wasn't with me, but I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And same with the guy that I was with, another couple that went with us, but me and this other guy went and got our tickets. The girls were at home. They didn't know what we were up to. Guys always get into mischief, right? So the travel agent got us to buy the ticket to go this way instead of that way, because we went this way 2 years before. So we went from Winnipeg to Toronto, from Toronto to Dubai, from Dubai, and that's in the United Emirates nation. From there, we flew across the Himalayas, all across Mongolia, across China, into Seoul, Korea, and landed there. You know how long that took? 40 hours. My wife says, why did you do that to us? 40 hours of traveling, my goodness. So, we did it. So I said to her, you know what? Hey, Jean, I said, you know what just happened? I said, what? We circled the earth. Remember our dream to go around the world? We did it. Come on. Yes, it's possible. It's possible. And I'm very thankful for the health and for the privilege that you have. But you got to think. I'm going to show you how to do it. Now if the battle began here, That's where the battle began. Conception. Remember how many were racing against you? 300 million. Someone say 300 million. 300 million other potential persons were racing against you, and you beat them all. How? I don't even know that I beat them. You're sitting here, right? That's how you got here. You're sitting here because you beat everyone. That's why I'm telling you, you were born a champion. You are not a loser. I borrowed, if the battle began in the womb, you can do it here. Look at these two girls, Robin and Raven. They fought their way through life. They became two of Manitoba's first female Indigenous pilots. These are champions. Robin and Raven, the two birds. They even have bird names, Robin and Raven. There's a misspelling it. How to take back your place as a champion. There's a typo there. I was correcting that this morning, and I guess I didn't save it. How to take back your place as a champion. It all begins in your mind. Once you put your mind to it, there is nothing in this world that can stop you from doing it. I'll say that again. Once you put your mind to doing it, there is nothing in this world that can stop you from doing it. How many want to do it? How many want to change? You can do it. You can overcome anything, even drug addictions, even poverty. We can overcome poverty. We have this notion in our home, in my house with my son. We never use the word broke. We never utter. I'll say it for the sake of the presentation, but we never say this at home. I am broke. Never say that I'm broke. Like financially, I'm broke. I never admit, even sometimes if the circumstances present themselves otherwise, I still never admit. And you know what? It has never happened. It has never happened. Somehow, some way, it's always there. It's amazing. It's amazing what will happen in your life. If I was to be preaching, I'd be telling you a lot more things, but I don't. I'm just sharing it with you in a level that I don't go beyond what I'm instructed to speak on in this conference, in this workshop today. But I have a lot of fun when I do go behind the pulpit to speak in a religious setting. But I don't even like the word religious setting. It should be everywhere, right? So, what was I saying there? Once you put your mind to it, there's nothing in this world that can stop you from doing. I was going to say something and it's like a butterfly, it flew off. First your mind, then your heart. And once it enters your heart, it becomes settled and established. That thought becomes your mindset, your foundation. All right, I remember now what I was going to say. It's about the word broke. We had made up in our minds that we will never utter that in our house. We call it the B word. Maybe you should call it the B word. And my son says the same thing, the B word. We don't say it. We never admit. And because of that, we had seen the change, the atmosphere in our home, in that area. So set your heart. Your mind first and then your heart. Once it enters your heart, it becomes settled and established. That thought becomes your mindset, your foundation. yesterday or 2 days ago when I was speaking. Every morning, I get up, I drink a bottle of water. Some of you have heard it. Some of you may not have heard it. Karen and Eileen talked to me the other day and said, you know what, I think we're going to try that, to drink the water. My wife gave me a link of how the Japanese exercise their habits of eating and drinking for longevity, to live a long time. And one of the remedies that they gave was to drink water every morning, at least 45 minutes to an hour before you take your coffee, your tea, or food, or intake of anything. Let that water go into your system. It goes into your bloodstream. It bathes your organs. You shower your kidneys with the pure water. You shower your kidneys with the pancreas. I mean, they shower the kidney, blah, 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 blah. You shower your pancreas with water, and all the liver and everything, all the organs in there internally. It's like a bath. It's like a shower. We shower outwardly, right? In the morning, we bathe ourselves. Why not inside? And that's a remedy for to live a long life. That Japanese have discovered that. And you know, since I did that, I struggled the first few weeks of it, but I began to develop a habit of doing it. After 3 weeks, after a month, after 6 months, it became part of me. And now, after looking back, this coming July will be 8 years since I started drinking water early in the morning, and I have never broken the day. So I have never fell off the wagon on that area. Even while flying overseas, I always calculate in my mind, okay, they're going to be serving breakfast in about an hour, or supper. I have a different time zone that I have to readjust myself. So I always take my water before they bring the meal there, and I'm okay. I have not broken the cycle. So you could do things like that. You become established in that area. There's a wise Chinese proverb given by Lao Tzu. Maybe some of you have come across this. It says, watch your thoughts. They become words. Watch your words. They become action. Watch your actions. They become habits. Watch your habits. They become character. Watch your character. It becomes your destiny. Let me say that again. Watch your thoughts. They become words. What you think, you utter, you speak. What you speak, you do. That's your action. What you do all the time, from what you thought and what you said and what you're doing, becomes your habit. It's a routine. You become what you say. It becomes a habit. And once that habit kicks in from all these things, from your thoughts, from your words, from your actions, it becomes your character. What is character? It's who you are. Your attitudes, the way you look at things, the way you present yourself, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you are about everything, the way you dress, the way you present yourself when you go to work. Do you come in late? Do you come in early? Do you come on time? People read you. You become a living book. People read you because of how you present yourself. That's a character. And watch your character, it says. It becomes your destiny. You succeed. You accomplish what you desire to have. Remember, you are a champion. You were born a champion. Here's my wise proverb. I took it from Lao Tzu and took the same words. Instead of using watch, I took the word steer, like driving, steer. Steer your thoughts to become your words. Steer your words to become your action. Like the B word. We never use the B word. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to have that to control me. I don't want poverty. I don't want to have that to trouble me. So I steer my words and it becomes my action. I see the outcome. Steer your actions, for it becomes your habit or your habits. Do you know how long it takes to form a habit? I think I said it before, but I'll say it again. 3 weeks. It only takes 3 weeks to develop a habit. Give it a try. Yes, you'll struggle the first 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 7 days, you'll struggle it. You struggle with it rather. And then 2 weeks, yes, it gets a little bit easier. 3 weeks. I've done that with other things as well in my life. Practiced some kind of a discipline with my own life. And I tried it the first week. It was hard. I had to break a lot of the things that were binding me from moving forward. Second week, it was a little bit easier. But when I got to the third week, hey, I actually enjoy doing this. I like doing this. It became something that was part of me. I was developing a habit. Try it. What is it that you want to overcome? What is that you want to discipline yourself? Ask yourself these questions. Maybe write them down, jot them down, and then practice. Do it. Just don't talk about it, or don't just think about it. Like I presented the other day with stages of change, we needed to do action. There's an action word there that's always incorporated in these presentations. Doing it, not just talking about it. Steer your habits to become your character. Remember, you're in the driver's seat. Nobody could drive for you. You're in the driver's seat. You see, you were given a will, a choice. That's the most beautiful gift that you and I possess. Nobody could take that from you. Nobody, absolutely no one can take that from you. The freedom to choose. The choices that we make are important. They can develop the habits that you have, and that can mold your character. Steer your character to become your destiny. Remember, when you first existed, you steered your way to your destiny. What was your destiny? The egg, the ovary. Even before you had hands and before you had eyes to see. Why not now? You have hands, you have a body, you have 2 hands, you have 2 legs, 2 arms, and a body with a head and the brain to think. Not only that, you have people around you to help you get up. You always have people around you to help you get up. You're not alone. You can get help. This workshop that we have today, that's help. The community organized it through the health division to help you, build you up, that there is hope, that you're not alone. It's all up to you to utilize it, to seek for it, and it'll help you. People that will help you climb your steps to success. There are people that are in your life that are not there by accident, but they are there because they were meant to be there. You see, life is very intriguing when you have a different perspective. I cherish my acquaintances, even though sometimes my memory isn't that quick when it comes to remembering names. I remember faces, but sometimes I forget the names of individual. And sometimes when I just call somebody brother or sister in the church world, that is, or I would address someone, oh, it's good to see you. Meanwhile, I don't even remember the name, but I remember the face. But those people are there. Those people are there, and they will help you. Even by simply talking to them, being around them, they will help you. Do you have a mentor? Do you have someone that you glean from, or that you rest your shoulder to when you're going through hard times? Find a person and lock yourself with that person. I have people in my life that I confide to when I need to talk. I have people that I go to. People may that sometimes are older than me and wiser, and that I know that they'll be confident in what I share with them. And I love those people, and I will go to them. My point is, do not isolate yourself. There's people there that can help you. What will determine your success? Your upbringing. Your upbringing is very important. Maybe some are not so fortunate, but you can change that. Maybe you had not the privilege of being raised by your immediate family, and you were moved from foster home to foster home, and you feel resentful for that and angry at times because that misfortune happened in your life. But now you're here. You can change that. Your upbringing. Some of the things that helped me in my life was even from here, Norway House, the Norway House platform. You're one of the guys that invited me over the course of the years, year after year. Since I was 18 years old, I came and spoke in this community many times. Every year, maybe sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times in a year. For 36 years, I came to Norway House for 36 years. And in 2017, I went missing. For 6 years, I haven't been back until today. Until now, I guess I'm like that eagle. Let me put it that way. I went and plucked the feathers off. I wanted a change. I wanted to renew myself. And I'm happy, that I'm glad that He welcomed me back. And I acknowledge that. Look, I put Norway House platform. Give yourself a hand for that. Thank you, Norway House. And then, of course, you have friends and the connections that you have. Cherish your friendship with people, the ones that you come across in life. They were meant to be there. They're not there by accident. I don't believe in accidents. I believe in something that is meant to be. I met Lucy for the first time, and I'm happy to know her, and we'll be friends forever. You're stuck with me now You're stuck with me, and I'm stuck with you. I'm sure we'll get to meet somewhere else in time to come. Get up, regain your title as a champion. Maybe you don't feel like a champion at all. Maybe you felt you were at loss. Things happened in your life, and you hid and you isolated yourself, and even to a point where you became homeless. You hit rock bottom in life. I'm telling you, get back on your feet like Tammy did. She's here today. Tammy, stand up. I just want to acknowledge you. She shared a very powerful life experience walking as a homeless. I could never even imagine or even try to put myself in there to try and see the scope of what you went through. But you shared it with bravery, with courage to tell the people what you experienced when you walked the streets to survive. I was all choked up sitting there, teary-eyed. I had to go like this. Kimuch. I saw people going like this. You made us cry. One more time, give her a hand. Tammy, thank you for sharing that. You came back. You picked up yourself. You regained your title as a champion. And you're going to remain as a champion. You are not a loser. You are a champion. You are an overcomer. You are a survivor. That goes with people that went to residential schools. You are survivors. You are champions. You're still here today. Remember, you were born a champion. The little guy my grandchild, just want to throw him there again. You are a champion. Norway House, a house of champions. Somebody mentioned that the other day. Norway House has a house of champions. I walked down the hall and I took a picture of that and I said, wow, look at these guys. I couldn't even count the trophies. I'm pretty sure there's more out there that you don't even, no room. Give yourself a hand. Thank you, Miigwech, for listening. I want to give the floor to, my colleague here, Norman, just closing remarks. And thank you very much for listening.
Yes, thank you, Raymond. No matter how many times I hear this presentation, I never get tired of it. At the same time, I think about myself and the places I've been and the things I've done. And his father, Mr. McLean, he used to come and visit me when I was younger. And he was a Christian man. And, he would tell me these Bible stories, not to preach to me, but, tell me these Bible stories. And one day he came to visit me and he told me my whole life story, what's going to happen to me, and I was living on a reservation that time. I moved home for about 3 or 4 years because my father wanted me to move home to help with the cattle. But I didn't like living there. It was like being locked up. This is how I felt. So Mr. McLean came to visit, and he told me my whole life story, what will happen, to me, and I thought, no, that's not going to happen. And but anyway, what he said came to pass. Everything that he said to me came to pass, and I always think about this man. He was a wise man, and even my colleague here. Sometimes we'll be traveling and he'll be talking to me, but of course I just ignore him, and sometimes I don't listen to him, and so I think that he knows that. So anyway, so sometimes when I'm talking, he doesn't listen to me. So one day I told him, hey, I said, when I was young, I got lost. Because I did get lost. I don't know how old I was. I got lost in the forest. So I told him I was lost for 2 days. The second day, I said, I remembered I had a cell phone, so I took it out and I text my grandfather. Then he looks at me. Of course, there was no cell phones back then, right? I just wanted to know if he was listening to me. But anyway, I always make it clear to people. I don't go to church. I usually go and play nightclubs. I go and play casinos, concert halls. So if you ever see me there, that's me, But sometimes I do play in gospel gatherings because people invite me. But I usually tell them that, I don't go to church. I said, maybe get somebody else. Because sometimes people say, oh, I seen him at the casino or something, right? It's true. I don't go to church, and I just want to make that clear that I don't go to church. But, I believe in God. My mother was a Christian woman, and she prayed for me all the time. And I'm here to tell people about drugs. And drugs are dangerous. I know for a fact how they work and how can they hurt and kill people. I've seen it. I've seen the psychosis. I've seen, all the marks on their arms, even needle marks. I've seen all the bruises. And, these are my people, the First Nations people, and I feel sorry for them. So this is why I'm here, to tell people, you listening out there, drugs are dangerous. Drugs are very, very dangerous. And firsthand, I know what they can do to people, and I know how they can destroy you. I know how they can destroy a family. So please think about your life. The presentation we just heard, champion. You're all champions. No, there's no losers. There's no losers in Norway House. There's no losers in my community. They're all champions. We just have to wake up and take back and what we've lost, and we can regain our strength again. And it's important to look at your life. Look at your life you're all important, and I really mean that. Every one of you, you listening out there, you're all important. You may not feel like it. And myself, ever since I was young, I worked. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to work. And sometimes I wouldn't be finished till 9 o'clock at night, and trying to survive, trying to try to have a good life. And over the years, I got to see that the things that I worked for. And he was talking about hoarding. Well, I'm one of these people that I don't know why I'm like that. I have faults too, like hoarding. I don't know. I have about 100 pair of shoes, brand new ones. They're still in boxes. Why do I do that? I have about 20 guitars in my house, and some are in cases in the closet. And I don't play guitar anymore. My hands, when I play guitar, my hands get sore. But nothing wrong with this one, so I can play steel guitar. But the things that he said, like hoarding, poverty, I've never known poverty. I thank God for that I've never known poverty. I've had a good life. And he was talking about hoarding, and I'm one of these people, maybe I need help too, maybe I need counseling, I don't know. Even clothes, a lot of my clothes, they still have tags on them. We have a big closet in the basement, and I just have even pants. They're in cases, big plastic cases, and they still have tags on them. And why? I don't know why. I don't have the answer for you. But, I have faults too, and, uh, you know, uh, but I'm happy. I'm happy the kind of person I am, and I'm happy to try to help people and to talk about drugs. I know drugs very, very well, and I know what they can do to people. I've worked in different treatment centers. I work in different treatment centers, and I worked as a counselor, and I've seen people die from drugs. I was saying, I seen a 35-year-old young woman in a hospital, non-native. She was non-native, and I went to see her, and I never forget. She looked and she saw me there, and she said to me, I remember what you told me. Now I'm going to die, she said. I didn't know what to say to her. I didn't know what to say. And 3 weeks later, she did die. And, these things, I feel bad. It doesn't matter if they're non-native or if they're First Nations or if they're black. Everybody's important, and everybody needs to know that, how dangerous drugs are, even first time taking it. Not too far from my residence in Winnipeg. They have new houses there, but not too far, about 3 blocks. 2 non-native young men died from fentanyl. They found them, and what the parents said, well, that was probably their first time. Young people, that could be your first time, that could be your first and last time. So please think about yourself. Drugs, there's so much to do out there. I lived all over. I lived in the States. I lived in Alberta. I lived in Toronto. I lived all over trying to survive, to try to have a good life. And please, think about yourself. You're important. You're very, very important. All right, so I'll leave that with you, and then hopefully, I think lunch is here already. Not yet. So if anybody has any comments, or please do so, or we plan on having a follow-up on our next workshops. In our next workshops, please, if you think of something, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to provide different kind of workshops regarding follow-up. We have, me and Mr. McLean have lots of presentations. These are not the only ones. We have lots. Over the years, when I was working for treatment centers, I developed a lot of presentations, and so we have a lot to share with you. All right, thank you, and you're all very wonderful people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raymond and Norman. Anybody have anything to share? While we're waiting for lunch. Well, Raymond, every time you said colleague, we laughed. Me and my sister over here. Because my mom, that story about my mom, she was mad at Rena. She was here yesterday. She's mad at her. Twice she said that to me, she said. I'll use this one. Twice she said that to me, she said. I'm mad at her. I know it's a bad word. I said, well, what did she say to you? And she didn't want to come out and say it right away. She said, I know it's a bad word, and she's moving her bikes and over here, and she's mad. And I said, well, what did she say to you? And she said, she called me my colleague. And of course I'm laughing. We're on our way to Thompson. And she said, and I said, Mom, do you know what that means? And she said, I know it's bad, she said. I said, no, it's not. I said, I'll tell you what it means. I told her what it meant, and she just burst out laughing. She said, dami na. I said, yeah, that's what it means. Means that's your co-worker. In Korea, I explained it to her, and then she said, oh, hi. And all this time, I thought it was a bad word. But anyways, that Sunday, we went to a church in Thompson. Well, I was taking her to Thompson for the weekend. She was going to a conference. And then I said, she says, we'll go to church Sunday before we come home. I said, okay. So we went to church. So we were a little bit late because we had to check out first and whatever. And then we went and sat on the side of the stages here, or the pew, or the altar. And then we sat over here on a side, and there was another lady here who was from Norway house. And then she said, we went there, because we're late. So anyways, we sat there. She sat next to that lady and me, and then there was this other lady that was late and come and sat next to me. So the preacher is preaching and did his gospel reading, and the gospel reading was on colleagues and co-workers and all that. So after the gospel reading, when the preacher's, doing his sermon, and then while he was talking, he was saying, my colleague, and he's looking towards us. A spin, my mom went down like this on that lady sitting next to her. Her name was Ruby, late Ruby Beardy. Ruby's looking at her like, strange looking, what's wrong with you kind of thing. So she didn't know why she did that. My mom just burst out laughing. She couldn't stop laughing right through that sermon. Anyways, that's what it was. Anyway, so anyways, we're on our way home. And I kept on calling her my colleague, and she just burst out laughing. So that's why we kept on laughing, me and my sister. So anyways, lunch is not here yet. I'll tell you another story. Me and my mom were coming home from Winnipeg. So I was playing my CDs, and I only had a CD and a radio, my little cart back then. And then we were coming off to 373, and then I was playing my music, and then this song came on, and I could see her going like this, looking out the window and driving, and her foot, tapping her foot like this. And then I said, I didn't say anything to her, and then she says, what's that song called? In Korea after it was done. So I said, I'm laughing at her because I was watching her, and I'm smiling at her, laughing, kind of smiling at her, and then, so what's that song called? And I said in Korean, and he said, who were you thinking of? And I was making love to you last night. And she said, dami na. I said, yeah, that's what it's called. Dami binataga na ni my dad. Before she knew what it was called, that's what she said. Oh, that song was good. It's funny. Funny old lady. But anyways, anybody have anything to share? Jimmy? Are you coming up here? Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Lucy. Mitten na naskomen. Naskoma manto. Nista I could be here. Pentos taman. We need this in all reserves. In Canada, kaisip mat kinanisa inenwak kakitimaygoya. Minahwain, mina drugs for our young people. I want to thank McLean, and this other guy here, Norman. You bless my heart to share these things. What can drugs do to our families, our children, even our grandchildren? I'm encouraging you to go on.
Thank you.
Ispite ganto migawie to share it. I'm going to stay Casta in my hometown and try and help out of this Inunuag. Kanu chikotsik minikain mina drugs. But to pray for my young ones. You know, I just encourage you by faith, and our families may make life worth living. That's to all of us. They say, we here as a team to fight this. And as Kuman Mayaguste, I encourage you to go forth for it. I love you guys. I love everyone that's here tonight. I mean this morning. I thank you. God bless you. Amen.
Thank you, Jimmy. So lunch is on its way. I don't know how long he'll get here. He's on his way to drop off our lunch here. Anybody else want to share? Okay. So this afternoon, at 1 o'clock, Norman will present, right? Norman will present on, what was it again? Alcohol poisoning. So that'll be the presentation this afternoon at 1 o'clock. And then after that, we'll hand out the certificates and do the draws this afternoon. So we have, for the draws, we have 5 $100 gift certificates. We have a meat pack, and the main draw is the 2 return tickets to Winnipeg. So those are our draws for this afternoon. And then of course we'll do the closing and the closing prayer this afternoon. Okay. Can someone go wait at the door, one of the staff? To wait for Ernest Crate?